All right, it is live and ready to go. I can also tell you when people will show up. Yep. We have two viewers currently. Yeah, it's on Twitch. It doesn't tell me who they are, but I can see I've got two people watching. Looks like you posted my Discord channel and not the Twitch. Yeah, what do you do? Yeah, no, I understand. I am currently not working. I was running a game store for a while, but I stopped doing that for a bit and was taking care of some family members that were ill until they passed away here recently. So uh, it's 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 part of life, man. Um, but no, I understand and thank you for that. All right, cool. You had the other two people to join. All right, cool. Like I said, as soon as they jump in, I can pull them in. you're good, man. Even if they don't, if they have just their regular browser, it'll pull up Discord on browser and log them into some like random username. Yep. Yeah. I'm part of like a million Discord servers, so I understand. Cool. We now have 4 viewers. Correct. Well, you gave him the link so you can watch. Here's Jake. Yeah, Siege of Augusta. Was it? I'm not sure. I know he did very well at Siege. Oh, that was Forge. Yeah. No, he didn't win Forge. His brother won Forge. I actually I actually played against the All Skiffs list in the last round for taking victory, and I punted that game. Eh, Um, I don't know. I want to say it wasn't too bad. Let me see. It's got a lot of counters, and I have a lot of those counters in my normal list. Hey, Jake, can you say something? Yeah, as people are saying you're sounding distant, I'm just trying to make sure that I've got that fixed. It looks like we have another person in here. Um, Name starts with an M, but I don't know. His mic is muted. I'll put him back. Rogar 7. Uh, Oh, that is much better.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not good with technology because all my technology for me or my wife. I don't like that I'm included in the like or my wife. The other day, my wife said that I was her favorite person, and she was waiting for a response, and I couldn't respond. And then eventually she was like, "Aren't I your favorite person?" I'm like, "Well, you're tied with Jake." Wrong answer, dude. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Um, we are right at 7 o'clock, and I am just reaching table placement. Is that perfect? Can you guys actually see my video feed or no? No. And oh, I have to turn off. I just see the Muncie icon.
There we go.
Where do I put this thing? Where's he? Yeah, I don't teach virtually. Yeah, I didn't actually look at the camera, dude. I turned off my camera all the time. I would just share my screen. Be like, all right, y'all, this is what you're looking at today.
All right. Do you guys have the stream pulled up so you can see them, the map and everything?
Yeah, I was gonna ask where's the stream. Do we just hit watch stream and it should pop up? Yeah, there it goes.
If you want to, I'll read off what people are saying as they say it. If you want to do that, or you can pull up the Twitch stream itself and mute
Do you
it
have a
and
link
watch.
to the stream? Because I can pull that up.
Yeah, let me get that for you.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. It might be a little bit harder for me to switch back and forth without on my list. So I'll definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I sent it to you as well, Noah.
All right.
That Ferrari guy says, "Look at those nerds." Thanks.
Thanks, pal.
Yep.
Oh, nice. Well, I apologize if you guys don't get that like the entire time, based upon the presenting screens here and then the screen I'm looking at over here. Um,
So you're saying we get the best side?
yeah, I mean, you get that nice the draw line. It's the only reason my wife watches stuff on me. Um, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it looks like we're having audio problems, so just I'm trying to fix that real quick.
Okay. I understand that. 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 Okay. How about now, Larry? Can you hear me okay?
It's I think it's still on my end. Just give me a second. I'm trying to fix it.
I think the progressive story like sadly couldn't make it this year, but I was like, that's a really good idea. I really like it. It switches things up. It like I think creates where like certain things that maybe wouldn't be good in the game or worthwhile suddenly might be. Like I don't know, scout becomes significantly better, right? Yeah. Well, it also gives a point to aggressive people who just end up getting tabled because they go out too hard and are shooting star. Literally, may not Noah describing himself. People that run like an all cav list and just rush completely forward with all cav characters. Or if trash rats, you know, either one. They can't all can't help themselves. It takes everything on. It's a mistake. One charge. I mean, and so that's kind of what the inspiration was. You know, unfortunately, I do come from a 40K background. I use progressive scoring now, and I always just kind of felt like that was not necessarily lacking in things, but it just is such an unexplored option in third edition. Like I know, I guess there was a like mission like that in second. I never played, but that's what I heard. But yeah. Oh, hey, hey, yeah, you're on camera. That's okay. If you stay on camera, quick screen account will probably go up. Um, that was my wife Haley for those that yeah. But yeah. So like, it's interesting. From last year, players that really exploited the way the missions work. I don't want to say exploited the bad thing, but like really tried to get it to be the best. Used a lot of scoring and surge. So like they would run in and just be like, oh great, I'm gonna kill this. I don't care if I die necessarily because like especially if they were player two, because they would run in and have more unit strength on an objective or something like that, score it, and also like kill everyone. Or even if they didn't kill everyone, it's like, hey look, I scored it. You didn't because you're taking off that get more objective for that guy. Yeah, I don't know if the audio is getting any better, um, but I do. I don't want to hold people up, so I don't know if we should continue on to matchups or.
Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. But yeah, so I mean, just trying to think between that and like the monster thing. Honestly, like the inspiration came from the one episode from Countercharge where um, Rob basically went through with like a group of bunch of people and was like, "What was your favorite thing that brought you to events?" And that was one of the things. It's like, "Oh yeah, taking random characters." I guess the Michigan they use like chariot characters or something like that. to like the Grand Prix, and I mean, it's true. I don't really remember last time I've seen a crash player besides maybe Noah's Raft. um, oh, hi. And one of the big draws for us beyond just what we don't get to see frequently was they have like a one-team character where you sort of pick pieces, design it together.
And that was really cool because you got to create combos that weren't usually in your army or even available normally. So it
Well,
was really
and the other
cool.
thing that was cool about that, and I'm not a painter, so I don't give a fuck about it in my case, and I'm not winning it, is that they had like the best painted or coolest general as well for that. So it wasn't just the fact that like, hey, I
Your
had this cool
guy came in
thing.
second though.
I know, and it was a random paint job that I did not do. But that's still cool because it makes people think about it. Like, oh, I don't want to just slap a random model here. Like, I might want to make something really cool. So people had some really cool things
I
with
love
that.
how Noah just
Wasn't that
passed over the fact that it was my model.
you didn't paint that one though? That was the one you
It's
said you
true.
bought on eBay.
It's
That's why I didn't give you credit. Now, what I do want to
I faced
mention,
it.
what I do want to mention is the model that did your model did win, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the model that did win was the model I was gonna use as my general until like a week before it, and then Jake was like, "Oh, they're not letting me use the model I want, so I'm gonna take this model instead." I'm like, "All right, thanks, dude." And
How
I
dare
lose
I
a
use my
random ogre
own
money
mini,
model
my
Yeah,
own
how
from
dare
units
you?
that
Steve.
I painted?
And I was about to say, I was like, were you still using Jake's army at this time for like
Oh yeah, I
years?
didn't. The
Oh,
first
I
thing
mean,
that
you
I
have no
brought
leg
on
to
the two
stand
was.
on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I
Looks
told
like
Jake
the
the only
sound
way
I
I was playing
fixed.
this game is if I could use his model for a while.
Nice, absolutely
Almost
hilarious.
all the hobby supplies Noah has access to at some point. Like he'll be like, "Hey, I have this shade of red I bought. What do I do as a highlight? A lighter shade?" He'd be like, "I don't have that." And I'll be like, "You can come over, borrow that." Okay. Do you have a hobby knife? You don't have a hobby knife? No. Okay. I have extra hobby knives. Like,
I mean, what are brothers for? That makes sense. Um, all right, so it looks like we have the sound up and running. Thank you, Andy.
yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
for those that are just tuning in or were having sound issues before, you haven't really missed anything. I basically just went over the scoring system one more time. Again, won't recap it yet again for everyone that's heard it already. I will go over it before the start of round one final time. Hopefully, everyone has read the player pack. Again, here's your mission. So we are going to go right into the matchup, starting with round one. Put up real quick. All right, round one, table one. It's going to be the first challenge. We have George O'Connell versus Thomas Knapp. I'll pull those lists up real quick. Starting off with George. Let's see here. All right, so I'll just read this off real quick, and then we could all dissect how best or not best these will go. So I'll go George, then Thomas, and we can compare. So George is running a horde of obsidian golems with a Charnox, Jesse's Boots of Striding, another horde with Blessing of the Gods, Abyssal Grotesques with a Brew of Sharpness. Oh, and it's, of course, Abyssal Dwarves, if anyone couldn't figure that out. 3 Hellfanes, one with the Hellforged Overmaster, which I believe gives Brutal to other dwarves around him. Or is it the one that gives Wild Charge? One of them. Or it might do both nowadays. Anyways, and then of course 2 regular ones. Then he has 2 Supreme Iron Casters on Winged Half-Breeds. One has the Half-Breed Affinity, which is like the same thing that ogres get if they're around more ogres, except for half-breeds. Diadem of Dragonkind for Fireball 18, Heal 4. The other one just has Fireball 12, Surge 8, and Heal 4. And getting into, I don't know. Here, I'll ask your guys' opinion. Do you want to go through the list and talk about it, or do you want to see the other person's
Read.
list and see how they compare?
I think read both, and then we can sort of like chat about the matchup and like the list some.
Yeah,
Sure.
because not all the lists have the names on them, so definitely helpful to see
Yeah.
both of them for the comparison's sake.
Yeah, let me see if I can throw these and get them side by side real quick. You could all tell this is my first time using a computer. Let's see.
Yeah, I agree. 8 drops is pretty low. That is a low number of drops. Very elite.
How I put his list in here. Let me just see where it wandered off to.
And while you were pulling that up, I did want to specify the Overmaster upgrade is what gives the wild charge +2. So all of them have the brutal aura, but just one of them has that wild charge aura, which makes sense because you don't really, especially with 8 drops, need more than one source of wild charge +2 probably.
But it's only for infantry, so it doesn't impact the obsidian golems, does it?
It impacts the Hellfane itself though, because it affects itself with its aura.
Okay.
I'd have to double check. It shouldn't affect the golems because they're large
They're
infantry.
monstrous infantry, yeah. So I think that the Hellfane itself is the only model it'll hit. Because I was also, when I was looking at this list, looking at the half-breed affinity, I think the one grotesque unit is the only thing that half-breed affinity will impact as well. So, like,
Okay.
good upgrades, but I was a little confused with so little things in the list that take advantage of it.
All right. Well, I apologize in advance. Oh, and by the way, George said he's also using the woman Roy. I'll go over the cryptids once we get kind of to the end of this. Woman in White is a lot like um, the old version of the Banshee from Night Stalkers, kind of, except it heals itself. Um, I made these cryptids based upon a podcast about North Carolina that talks about North Carolina's cryptids. So they on the podcast. Um, And I normally, apparently, always make one a little bit more overpowered than all the other ones every year because last year it was, ironically enough, the Gray Man, and now it's the Woman in White. Obviously, there's no Gray Man this year because it was too overpowered, and apparently, I just replaced him with someone that's way overpowered to begin with because almost everybody took the Woman. So I apologize. Thomas sent me his list pretty early, and I thought I put it in the companion app, but apparently I did not, so that is my bad. But yeah, so this is Thomas's list. He is running Varinger. He has a Hearthguard regiment, 3 mounted sons, 2 with Guys Deceiver for stealthy, 2 Tundra Wolf troops, 2 Frostfang lords, no upgrades, a Chimera lord with the Helion Brew, and then he's using the formation, the Mammoth Step Riders. They're like light cav, so they're only like defense 4, but I think this lets them, their melee stat goes down to a 3 and they get like an extra thunderous, I believe.
Yeah, they get
And then he has like a
melee
cav hero
3
with it.
and 1 extra thunderous.
Ah, okay.
So
Awesome.
they're I believe Crush 1, Thunder 1, or Thunder 2, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I love Berenger.
Both of these are pretty elite lists, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the
I think.
Vanguard list still have 12 drops, it looks like. So it's on the
Yeah.
leader end, but 3 more drops on the other side, or 4 more drops on the other side. And
Yeah.
a lot more mobility with the speed, which will play a factor. But George's list is just so tough. Like, it's going to be tough for a lot of that Vanguard stuff to remove. I think it's going to come down to first turn. If the Supreme Ironcaster is going to get a good position to get some objective points early, I think that'll make a big difference with all the shooting supporting. But then if Varangur is allowed to get around the different pillage tokens with all their speed and different units, it's gonna be tough for George to remove the stuff quick enough to get the progressive scoring.
I think I don't know if I agree with first turn, but I do think that a lot of it's going to depend on positioning because George is really built to grab those objectives and sit on them, which could be
Yeah.
really good in this scenario. But the Varangur list has the speed to really threaten those flanks, and Lords on Frostfangs eat defense 6. Like, if
Yeah.
they get a flank, it's going to kill pretty much almost anything in this list. And those step raiders, because they're nimble and they're fast, between them and the Lords on Frostfang, you got a lot of nimble in the list, which is not necessarily, I think, something that George's style list wants to see because you can't quite box up and move forward as reliably. I think this is also an interesting matchup because both of these lists are doing very different things. Like you have a lot of speed and a hitting power versus a lot of staying power and hitting power.
And a lot of range. Almost everything in George's list shoots.
Yeah,
The
the
only thing
stealth
that
is
doesn't
going to
is
pay
test.
for itself.
Yeah, it's on a shorter range, but it does have,
Yeah.
like, you're right, everything does shoot.
Well, and with pillage, you got to touch the tokens, so that's
Yeah.
going to provide a little bubble.
Yeah, I mean, I am interested to see. Thomas has a lot of crushing strength to get through most of George's stuff, and he still has that Lord and Chimera too.
Yeah, I think I'd give the slight edge to Varangur and Tom in this one.
Yeah,
I'll go with that.
I think I'm going with George only because I know George is a very experienced player, and he generally is taking a list that he has a very clear idea how he wants to pilot and use it. So even though I think mechanically the speedier list in most scenarios probably has the advantage, I think specifically in pillage, like I think I'd rather want to move forward, sit on the objectives, and then have the speed that the winged half breeds bring to hold back some of this Varangur stuff. In most other scenarios, I think the speed is going to be the king in this pairing, but in pillage, it's a really good scenario for this jump forward and sit.
I can see that. What do you think, Andy? Yeah, there. Yeah, I can see that. So it looks like we have 3 for Thomas and 1 for George. Good luck, fellas. All right. Moving on to our next one. This back real quick. Hopefully, I'll have actual PDFs for everyone else. Let's see. All right, here we go. So, table 2. The next, again, it was another challenge match. These, so this was our number 1 and number 2 players from last year. We have CJ Rice and Jason Britt. So let me get those up and running. Let's see. CJ. Oh, I did have that. Where did you go? I swear I did not see this Varangur list here, but apparently I did send it. I'm just blind, even with glasses on. Right. Ah, here we go. That's right. Southern Alliance. Okay, so CJ's list again. This was the gentleman who won first place last year. I think he was running League last time. CJ is always fun to play against. I played him at Siege last year as well. So he's using 2 halfling archer regiments, 2 halfling cavalry regiments, both with, I don't know if Relentless, it looks like Relentless is an upgrade, 3 honor guard, all with Indomitable Will, 1 with Blessing of the Gods, 1 with Jesse's Boots of Striding, and 1 with Chain of Hate, the Battle Shrine, a wizard with Mounted, Shroud of the Saint for extra healing and Bane Chant. I don't know. I'm guessing that's a named character, Duke Hetrenberg, special character, and 2 dukes on ancient winged airleses. 1 with Blade of Slashing, 1 with Mace of Crushing. And let's see here. Jason is going to be running a Northern Alliance list. We have 4 regiments of pack hunters, a human tribesman regiment upgraded to Hearthguard with Blessing of the Gods. I would hate to get hit by that. 3 Frostclaw Rider. I'm sorry. 2 Frostclaw Rider regiments, 2 Frostclaw Rider hordes. Try and say that 10 times fast. One of them has Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding. We have a Scald Hero with the Loot of Insatiable Darkness, and 2 Lords on Chimera. One with Dwarven Ale and another with Stained Stone. All right. I think I started off last time. Why don't we all go down the list? How about you, Noah? You want to start us off on something that you see interesting in these?
Well, let me start off by saying I have not played very many League of Rordia lists other than Ed's list that I've seen 2 or 3 times. So not too knowledgeable on League of Rordia, but there's a lot of cav. There's a lot of cav that's going to hit hard. It's going to be hard to manage, and there's a little bit of range to kind of keep you honest and probably protect the flanks a little bit. And then with the Northern Alliance list, it's just a lot of things. It's still only 12 drops, but the Frost Claws fly so far, and they have the range attack, which is nice. And then the Pack Hunters have the 24-inch range. So there's a lot of range there, but a lot of it's very squishy. So I think I personally give a slight edge to the League of Rordia just because I think the Knights are going to be really hard to shoot off with the minimal piercing. There's a little piercing 1 with the Frost Claws, but with the defense 5, the Pack Hunters are going to have a hard time shooting through all the Knight units.
How about you, Andy?
I'm gonna have to agree. I actually played Jason Britt at Forge a few months ago, and he used a very similar list to this. It's very scary the number of shots that are going down range there. That being said, him getting into range to shoot means he's in charge range of all this cavalry that Christopher has. I think I'm gonna have to give the edge to the Leagues of Rordia.
Yeah. And yeah, I looking at the list, like I've played both Jason and CJ. They're both teammates of mine, both very, very good. Um, I will say I don't think that this is the list that Jason wants to see up against him. I mean, CJ doesn't really have a whole lot of return shooting, so like the stealthy bonuses that the pack hunters are getting, like nothing's really affected by it. And if CJ can really time his charges right, I definitely will probably say he has the edge in this one. How about you, Jake?
I think we're gonna find a theme of me being the counter choice here. I think actually the Northern Alliance list is the one that if I was picking between these two, I'd want to pilot. The shooting for the Frostclaw Raiders outranges the Honor Guard's charge, and the Frostclaw Raiders, because they're flying too, you have the effective 28-inch, not 28 because you're moving, 28-inch range with Nimble, so you can really dance around in really interesting ways. I think Indomitable Will is going to be money in the matchup, because if there's a bad waiver, there is, in the Rordia, some protection from that. but I don't see anything in Rordia to force Northern Alliance to fight until it's already plinked down, and those Lords on Chimera just need a couple extra damage on stuff to then start taking them off. And then once we think about the progressive scoring and whatnot, I think the Northern Alliance can really grab some early points, dance around, cause some plink damage, and then do late game charges to really start removing stuff. Whereas it's really on the Rordia to make the tempo of the matching and then really push it to happen, because without Battle Shrines having some good shots, there's not much else in the Northern that the Northern Alliance is going to worry about until the fight starts.
I could definitely see that. Well, all right. So again, we have a 3-1, and yeah, good luck, gentlemen. All right. So again, we're still sticking with challenges. We have on table 3 Charles Fadouk along with Brian Swinson. So let me get that going. And also, shout out to Charles. He is helping me get all the trophies printed. And again, I don't think I've ever asked if you. Some people call him Chuck. Some people call him Charles, and I don't. It's like me, like Matthew type of thing. Um, so I apologize in advance. I've actually never asked what he prefers. Let's see here. All right. So I put Charles on this PDF, so I'm going to say Charles. Starting off, we have it is Empire of Dust. I should probably start getting used to that. Skeleton Spearmen, 2 regiments. Mummies, he has a troop and a regiment. A horde of skeleton warriors. I'm surprised that none of these guys have the casket upgrade. 2 hordes of enslaved guardians, 1 with Jesse's boots. 2 scavenger regiments, of course, the mandatory Soulsayer. A bone giant with a giant cleaver to give it the Slayer D6, a mandatory monolith. A revenant champion with Surge 5. A cursed high priest, looks like Surge 8, weakness 3, and celestial restoration, and of course the mandatory Isle of Shovik. All right, and over to Brian's list. He's running free dwarves. He Brocks don't take axes is the title of this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regiments of free dwarf Brock riders. 1 with brew of strength, 1 with brew of sharpness. Yeah, they all have Pathfinder. We have 2 Stoneclaw Rider regiments, both with grenades, 2 Mastiff Hunting Packs with throwing dogs, the named Brock character, Sverri Inglax on Hellbrock, and 2 dwarfs on large beasts, 1 with Jesse's boots and 1 with blade slashing. All right. Andy, why don't you start us off?
Well, that's a lot of Brocks.
Yeah,
that's a
that is
million attacks. All right. First things first. I think. I mean, what is he going to be charging though? Scavengers, spearmen. I think once he charges, Charles is going to be able to counterattack pretty hard. Um, I guess he's got some mummies too. I will say whatever the Brock Riders charge is probably going to die.
yeah,
Spearmen may
especially the
have.
sharpness.
Oh yeah. Um, that being said, I think he has just too many hit units for the Empire Dust list here. There's a Bone Giant that doesn't get its Slayer against almost anything in the list. There's the Stoneclaw Riders, of course, and the Dwarf Lords. Um, the Enslaved Guardians. My bad. I can't read. But yeah, he'll be able to dictate every charge, and I think he'll be faster getting onto the objectives. So I'm gonna have to give it to Brian here.
Yeah. I'll jump in. Again, I've played both these players. Brian's actually someone that I play pretty regularly. And yeah, I've never actually played against. Or no, I played against EOD once, and I was against Bruce at Siege. Um, I think either that or his brother, one or the other. But yeah, so I don't know. I always underestimate EOD. Apparently, everyone says they're really strong. Um, Gosh, it's tough, but yeah, I think that the initiative really goes to Brian, depending upon a lot of things here. I mean, he doesn't have to worry too much. There's not a whole lot of shooting EODs putting downfield. I'm gonna go with Brian for this, unless I could see some sneaky surge shenanigans, but if Brian positions himself right, I think he has it. How about you, Noah?
So I just want to start off by saying I suck at Surge. I hate playing it. I hate playing against it. I'm just not good with it. So I think butts will definitely be poked throughout this game with some crafty surges. The Brock Riders is insane. Like I'm looking at it, and the only thing I don't like is the defense four, but they have 26 attacks hitting on fours, except for the one with the Brew Sharpness with threes. So that's gonna hit like a tank. And even if you take out two, there's still three more coming out behind with two Dwarf Lords on large B. So I will say this looks like a really fun list to play, a very unfun list to play against. But gotta stick with my teammate, so I'm going Chuck. EOD's gonna poke some dwarf butts in this game.
All right. How about you, Jake?
I thought I was going to be the one person voting for one person again there for a second.
You broke your streak.
I like both these lists a lot, and I think it's really interesting to see so much fearless across each other on the table. Um, Saying that, I played a lot of Undead for a lot of my time in King's War, and this Empire of Dust list, I think facing this style of dwarf list is something that it's equipped to deal with. Without a double charge, those Brock Riders aren't going to be able to reliably remove Enslaved Guardian Horde or the Mummy Regiment, and then the Spear Horde is like a big problem for it. But the inverse of it is that the dwarves aren't bringing enough high defense to make the lower crushing that the Empire of the Dust is bringing to the table a problem. And I think once those lines clash, the Brocks just are less effective at grinding than the Empire of Dust is. So I think this is the type of matchup where if Brian can't really be careful about those charges, it's going to go bad, and it's going to go bad quick because the Empire of Dust will envelop Surge and just do bad things. So I'm going to go with Empire of Dust on this one.
All right. 2 for 2. I mean, but you don't have any experience with any player that just runs his army forward and just tries to get first turn charges, though, right?
Noah gets so lucky. We actually don't play that frequently, and when we do, I'll be like, "That's a bad move." He's like, "Watch me," and then he'll roll way better than he should, and table stuff off. I'm like, "Okay, fine, do that all the time. Cool."
They don't
I
call me
mean,
Luck
you're
Sack
just
for no
gonna roll
reason,
box rolls, man. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just roll high. That's how you win this game.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. So, table 4 is our last challenge match. That is Drew Gaddy versus Thomas Struthers. Sorry, not Struthers. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, I remember where Drew's is at. He's the one that sent me a picture of his army. Oh, well, not that one. Let's see. Where are you, Drew?
So one of those two messenger creations. Those are images.
Let's see what we got. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Try and zoom in on that a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Starting off with Thomas playing Abyssal Dwarf. So this is our second Abyssal Dwarf player. He has a horde of decimators with Blessing of the Gods, 2 lesser obsidian hordes, both with Charnox, one with Pipes of Terror, and one with Helm of Confidence. I don't remember. Oh, Inspiring Self. I have not seen that. Abyssal Grotesques with a Brew of Sharpness, a Hellfane without any unique upgrade, Infernock, the named Abyssal Titan, Dravak Docklin. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Again, the named character that can cast through Infernock. 2 Hex casters, both with Hex and Weakness, and 1 Supreme Iron caster on Great Winged Half-Breed with Shroud of the Saint. So Fireball 12, Surge 8, and Heal 6. And Drew is bringing in 1, 2, 3, 4 hordes of Pike. 1 with Measured Force, 1 with Jesse's Boots, 2 Foot Guard regiments, 2 Bowman Troop and a Bowman Regiment, an Army Standard Bearer with the Boomstick, a Wizard with Banechant 2, a Hero on Pegasus, 3 Generals on Winged Beast, and the Outlaw Formation. Which, oh, here we go. Looks like 2 troops of Bowmen and a Bowman Hero. So I'll start us off this time around. I honestly have been looking at Abyssal Dwarf lists myself, just because they seem interesting and not your normal dwarves. This is a pretty interesting list. I mean, again, quite a lot of shooting going on. It has a decent mix of like hard-hitting units. The Infernock Dravik Daklin combo is really like I have that in mind because I just thought it was hilarious to have a completely safe caster and you have to get to this defense 6 unit to like stop him from casting. So yeah, I mean, I like Thomas's list. I actually played against him at the last Mountaineer. I don't think it was this particular list, but I'm fairly certain that it was. Actually, I think he was playing Forces of the Abyss then. But let's see here. So Drew's list, that is a lot of stuff.
Yeah, how many?
It may not be the best stuff.
I counted
but it is a lot of
17
stuff.
drops and 31 unit strength. I don't know if I counted that wrong, but that is what I counted just for curiosity's sake, and it was approximately 1731, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, that I don't know very many armies that are going to be just walking through all this. And from experience with the way the missions work, like this is a really good list to play in this style event. Granted, it's not the fastest list in the world, but neither is the Abyssal Dwarf list. There's only one speed 7 unit and a flyer. I think it's going to be really close, honestly. I don't see Drew's list really like breaking too much that Thomas has, but like it's going to be a slugfest. I think the MVP out of that is going to be that hammer measured force infantry pike horde. I mean, it is a really close toss up. I'm going to go with Drew though, just because I enjoy seeing the Kingdoms of Men, and I really think that this list is going to do well in the tournament overall. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, I think I really like this Kingdoms of Men list. I think this is something that would do well in like traditional scoring too, but in this particular scoring, I think the things Kingdom of Men is doing well is even better. I think it's like you said, it's going to struggle to get through some of those obsidian golems, but those generals on Winged Beast, if they get some flanks, can put on some damage. And I think the big difference is Thomas is paying a lot of points in casters that just aren't going to be able to earn those points back easily because Fireball is nice, but Fireball into defense 5s and 4s that have high nerve is going to very quickly just be like, okay, I don't want to get my expensive wizard into range for this. And then if you're not doing that, you're paying a lot of points for that Supreme Iron Caster. I think it's really cool to see two Abyssal Dwarf lists taking that choice because it's something that I'd literally never seen at an event up to this point, and I think it shows that some of the changes to the rules are really making it an interesting choice. I think it's still too expensive personally for what it brings to the table. And I find it interesting that both people who took it only took one thing to boost its casting. I think if I was taking it, I'd take either like 2 grotesque hordes or like a grotesque and some half breeds so that I could really churn up that casting number because you're paying just so many points for it. It's like you're paying for that ability to boost the spells, and I don't know if this list quite has the tools for that. But I think some of that is because Thomas, up to this point, no Abysseldorf player was taking the Supreme Caster, so you weren't planning for it. So I suspect Thomas is like, this is the cab I have, and I totally get that. I like both the lists. I think both of them are interesting, taking different stuff, but Kingdoms of Men all the way for me on this.
Nice. How about you, Noah?
Yeah, so I know Thomas has half breed, so I was a little curious too, and I had the same exact comment about both Abyssal Dwarf players playing completely different lists, having Supreme Ironcasters with the half breed affinity that's not affecting too much. Was a little bit of a head scratcher. I do really like the 2 golems with the Charnox and the Decimator Horde Blessing of the Gods. That's something I've run multiple times, and I think that's going to do a lot of damage in this scenario. We can kind of sit on an objective or two, depending on how close they are, and shoot anything that comes close. And when it comes close enough, you'll be fine in combat because you have 2 golems to support you and back you up. Um, with the human list, I think there's a lot of bowmen, and the bowmen really aren't going to do too much against defense 5 or 6. So I honestly think the MVP of this game and what's going to decide it is how much damage that Kingdoms of Men Pike Horde with the Hammer of Measured Force does, or if Thomas is able to find a way to target it and remove it. I do agree with 2 Hexcasters. The weakness will be kind of nice, but with not too many big hammer units on the Kingdoms of Men list, I don't think weakness will be that big, and there's not that many casters, so the Hex won't do as much either. So it'll be interesting to see how Thomas uses the tools that he has to try and hold 3 or 4 objectives and just hold the humans back, because that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to trying to find a way to keep 17 units off of 4 objectives. But I'm going to stick with teammate and give Thomas the edge just from his experience with Abyssal Dwarves. And also Dravik and Infernoc is a lot of fun. So I think having these Supreme Ironcaster theoretically on one flank and then a defense 6 coming up is really cool. The one thing to note is if Infernoc gets in combat though, Dravik can't cast spells through him. So it'll be something that'll be good early, but then eventually that dwarf is going to have to turn the corner if it wants to do anything.
Can he surge himself? Like, can Dravik
Yes.
surge?
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is really cool. Gives you lots of possibilities.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. How about you, Andy?
Honestly, what I'm looking at here on the Abyssal Dwarf list is a lot of defense 5 and 6, but the big thing is a lot of melee 4. And I think the phalanx or the pikes for the Kingdoms of Men are really just not going to care about the Abyssal Dwarves. Pretty much the shooting from Abyssal Dwarves will be more effective than the melee from the Abyssal Dwarves. So um, I think I will have to agree. I think the Hammer Measured Force unit is going to be pretty pivotal from this Kingdoms of Men list. But not just that, the 4 flyers here for Kingdoms of Men are going to be doing a lot of damage if the phalanx hordes hold them in place. There's going to be a lot of nice flank charges from those flyers, and they're like Crush 2, Thunder 1, so they don't really care about the defense 5 and 6 units for the Abyssal Dwarves. So I'm gonna have to give the edge to Kingdoms of Men here.
All right. Nice. Well, good luck, gentlemen. Okay, so our first non-challenge match, we have Mike Adkins versus William Peak. All right, let's take a gander. All right, Mike is playing Undead. We have 2 zombie regiments, a horde of revenants with undead giant rats, 2 wraith troops, 2 hordes of zombie trolls, one with Brew of Sharpness. 2 hordes of whites, one with Mead of Madness, one with Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding. 2 Revenant Cavalry troops. A Necromancer with the Vicious Aura for Zombie upgrade. Inspiring Talisman, Surge 6, Drain Life 4. The Flying Pharaoh, Surge 5. And of course, as everyone says, Morgoth the Mandatory. And over here, William is taking ogres. We have a large infantry horde of hunters with Brew of Haste, 3 warrior regiments, 3 hordes of siege breakers, one with a stay in stone, the boomer chariots with the black powder upgrade, giving them the stealthy aura, and the sacred horn, boosting that aura range, 3 sergeants with heavy crossbows, and 3 ogre warlocks, one with lightning bolts and blood boil, one with boomstick and drain life, and one with diadem of dragonkind and lightning bolts. Interesting, no Namgrok. Alright. Jake, why don't you start us off?
I love this undead list. It's a very stereotypical, like, I think this is like Adkin's standard list with a couple character swaps for the changes. It's nice to see the Chris Pharaoh in there. I love the Chris Pharaoh with wings. It's such a good unit. That's one of my favorites to take. Morgoth being back is fun. I think the Siege Breakers are a really big problem for undead. And this ogre list has a lot of tools that if I was piloting the undead, I wouldn't want to see. Hunters are a problem because Pathfinder and Ensnare is a nightmare for an army that mostly has no Strider minus the Wraiths, and you're already hitting on 4s with a lot of stuff. The shooting that the list brings, particularly with the sergeants with crossbows, is going to be more than I think I'd usually see ogres bringing minus lightning bolts. That's kind of interesting. So I think I'm going to give a small edge to the ogres, knowing that Adkins pilots this list a lot, so I wouldn't be shocked to hear that he does just fine. But I think if I'm looking purely from a list to list standpoint, the ogre has a couple of tools that if I was using the undead, I don't want to face 3 hordes of siege breakers if I can avoid it. I don't want to face that amount of shooting, particularly without a ton of heal in the list. So ogres for me.
Alright. 1 for the ogres. Let me get that down there. Yeah. I haven't played either of the players. I will say I think the first year I was going to Vanguard, Mike was going to be the ringer, and this is a very similar list that he had at the time. Before I got switched to play Bart, my nemesis, that one day I will eventually beat. Yeah, it's an interesting list. I play ogres. It's one of the armies that I'm good at because the army itself is good. So it makes up for my lack of skill. And yeah, this is a good list. It has a lot of hitting power. It has a lot of range. I don't see a ton of healing really with the undead that like I see in a lot of different type of undead lists. I know they have the drain life, but other than that, I mean, there's a ton of plink shooting. Yeah, I am gonna have to vote for William on that one. How about you, Noah?
I'm not gonna repeat everything y'all just said because I agree with all the things, and also I'm not super knowledgeable with ogres. Only played them like twice, minus Ed's list, which is quite different because it just has all that lightning bolt in it. And then Mike, I've only really seen him play Forces of Nature. But what I will say is the thing that puts me over the top with my little knowledge is that Mike's list is all shambling. So with a scenario like this where it's progressive and you need to get on the tokens as quickly as possible, I think it's going to be a difference in the beginning of the game. And then even if Mike does some strategic moves to put him in a place towards the end of the game to potentially have more tokens, it's going to take a lot to move the things from one token to another or from a unit to a token to get in scoring range and out compete the ogres, which every single one of the ogre unit scores versus the only 11 scoring units in the undead list. I think that's going to be a different. 11. So I think that's going to be the difference maker. The unit strength, flexibility to be able to jump on the different objective counters. pivot a lot more maneuverability.
I can see it. How about you, Andy?
To me, right now, I will have to say ogres. I think are one of the strongest armies that can be played right now. Um, that being said, I think I'm gonna have to be the devil's advocate here and go. Undead are hard to play against. While they are shambling, the Revenant Cavalry are going to be able to dictate charges, um, as well as the Whites. They just outrange all of the Ogre units. There's only like 4 real units to deal with in the Ogres right now, or with this list. That's the Hunters and the 3 Siegebreaker hordes. Um, the one thing I'm not seeing that I would like to see for Ogres is a lot more Drain Life. Once the grind starts happening, Uh, I think only one Drain Life caster is not going to be enough. So I'm going to give the edge to Mike here. Um, Wes actually just moved from Memphis uh, up to there, so I have played him quite often. Um, so I feel bad giving it to Mike, but I think Undead are going to be a little rough for him.
All right, sounds good. Well, good luck, gentlemen. And the next list we have is going to be Larry Essick and Jim Smith. Let's see what we got. It is what. This one. Oh, that's right. He didn't put his name on it. I remember what list it is now. Next year, guys, names on lists. Please. I'm dumb enough as it is. I need all the help I can get. All right. So, starting off, we have a regular dwarf list. Jim is playing 4 units of Iron Guard regiments, all with throwing mastiffs. A horde of shield breakers with throwing mastiffs and Aegis of the Elohai, and 1 with regular throwing mastiffs. I have 3 troops of sharpshooters, a Berserker Brock Rider regiment with Jesse's boots, a Steel Behemoth Gollux Fury upgrade, a Berserker Lord on Brock with a Gnome Glass Shield, and a Dwarf on Large Beast with Mace of Crushing. So not running the formation, but lots of stuff there. And then Larry, probably the list he doesn't want to play against, is playing Night Stalkers. He has 3 regiments of doppelgangers. I don't think I've ever seen those before on the field. A Blood Worm Legion with Hammer Measured Force, 2 Tormentor units, regiments, 3 troops of Phantoms, 2 Terrors, absolutely terrifying, a Shade, a Horror with Aura Vicious, Banechant 2, and everyone spells it differently. I say Enshira. I'm sure everyone pronounces it one way or the other. I blame my English on my terrible parents, being dirty foreigners. All right, so who did we start off with last time? Was it you, Jake?
I think it might have been either me or you. We both went first, but I don't remember which order.
I'll say no. How about you start us off then? We'll split the difference.
Yeah. So the dwarves defense 6 is gonna suck really bad with these 4 regiments of Iron Guard, but you have the Bloodworm Legion to kind of take care of that. And then with all the stealthy, it's gonna reduce the shooting a little bit. I don't know
Dogs
either
aren't
player.
affected by stealthy, as a heads up.
Yeah, but it'll still impact the sharpshooters and the steel behemoth. Mastiff's not so much, but the other stuff it will. I think just with all the high defense, Yeah, I don't know. I think this is gonna be a really close one, but I think I'm gonna give a slight edge to dwarves just because I hate dwarves.
All right. One to the dwarves. Andy.
Um, I think I'm gonna have to give it to the dwarves as well. Sorry, Larry. There's just not a huge answer to defense six. So, yeah. What are the cryptids here? Is it Lady and White for both of them?
Uh, I believe it's on the pri I should probably have put that for all the other ones. I have it up in the messenger, but I'm gonna say Lady and White, both of them. I have to look at the emails.
All right. Yeah, the
If
doppelgangers are
to,
gonna be good. Like, I think holding their own place, but I don't think there's just enough punch to get through the four regiments of defense six. Unless something happens and those terrors can get in on the flank or something, but it's gonna be rough. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to James here.
all right. Yeah, I mean, Jim is I've known him since I was 16. Um, he is my best friend who lives in Florida and is coming up specifically for the event. I forced him to get into King's War. We met in English class, and I was looking through a Necron Codex back in fourth edition. And yeah, he spotted that because he also played Necrons at the time, and best friends ever since. So I will wholeheartedly give my support to the dwarves as a completely biased opinion. Um, he Jim is he's a quick learner, so dwarves are a good list to learn against. And really, I'm sure the one thing he really needs to look out for, besides that Bloodworm Legion, that will literally eat anything in that list, because if you stick the four behind it, it is now vicious with hitting on fours and wounding on fours no matter what. So I think it averages out to like a minimum of 10 wounds or something like that on average. Um, but yeah, unless Larry is getting some double charges off with anything else, I just don't see him getting through that defense six. And yeah, the hunting mastiffs. I play Night Stalkers. That was my first army, and hunting mastiffs are not my friend. And I don't know if they're anybody's friend by definition. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the dwarfs on this. How about you, Jake?
Yeah, I think it's dwarves all the way for me, for all the reasons people said. But I think also, like, one thing to note is Larry has 3 units of doppelgangers, and in general, doppelgangers want to face off against um, other hammers because you copy the offensive stats but not the defensive stats. And so, like, if he gets in combat with Iron Guard, they're just going to flail at each other, and then the Iron Guard will kill the doppelgangers much, much quicker. Shield breakers are an okay thing to take, maybe Brock Riders, but like none of these are things that would break themselves on the return hit, and that's what doppelgangers want to see. And so that's 3 units that are going to really struggle to get their points back in an already bad matchup. So sorry, Larry, gotta go dwarves here. In the chat, he's also saying I hate D6 with this list, so I get it.
Well, best of luck, Larry. I'm excited to see how that game goes. So, all right, that was our first clean sweep. But Larry, I know you as a player, and I know that you have some insane skills. So I'm not going to put it past you that you can't pull it out. All right. So the next one we have Joey Greek versus Tony Nelson. Let's see what we got. Okay, and that is our second Kingdoms of Men list. We have 2, 4, 6 regiments of pike. We have 2 beast cavalry hordes, both with flying, both with thunderous and vicious, both with indomitable will. 2 army standard bearers, one with Shadow of the Saint, one with loot. A wizard on Pegasus with Mind Fog and Veil of Shadows. 2 heroes on Pegasus. The list goes on with 3 generals on Wing Beast, one with Stainstone. Versus Salamanders, who is 2 fire elemental hordes, 2 rhinosaur cavalry hordes, a greater fire elemental with, I don't know if the rallying is a upgrade or not, 2 Lyciodons, 3 phoenixes, 2 mage priests, one with surge and bark skin, the other one with celestial restoration, and the Whispering Scales formation, giving 2 regiments of primes, stealthy and scout, and a prime source hero. Gives it elite and pathfinder to those units. Let's see here. No, I think you started off last time. So Andy, why don't you start us off?
Okay. This one is pretty close, I think. It looks like both lists. Well, the salamanders hit very hard. Um, the 2 rhino cav units and the fire elementals are very, very strong. And 3 phoenixes as backup is pretty nice, both from the shooting, which is going to be good against the phalanx regiments, and for the heal once the grind starts. Because that looks like that's what Tony Nelson wants to do here, with the heal on the Army Standard Bearers and the double life leech. So each one of those phalanx units is going to be life leech 2. Looks like he's pretty much just trying to hold people up and then hit them in the flanks with these beast cavalry hordes and the looks like 5 flyers. Did I count wrong?
2, 7 flyers, technically.
Yeah, yeah. I am
Yeah.
not sure who to give it to here, but I'm gonna root for the Kingdoms of Men because I think that's the right thing to do.
All right. So 1 for the Kingdoms of Men. Tony and we play regular. We live like 10 minutes from each other, which is nice. And even though we live that close, we don't get as many games as we should. So I've played against this list or iterations of it. It it is very good. It's generally like Tony's main line list, so he has a lot of experience with it. That being said, my unbiasedness from like looking at everyone's list, like having everyone's list, I hate heavy heal lists. When I saw Joey's list, I was like, I don't want to play this. Like, if I was in the event, like, I wouldn't want to play that. I mean, Tony, yes, if he pops a unit, like, it is gone, and he has the ability to do that, especially if he get into flanks and things like that. But if he doesn't, all the damage he does is just going to get brought back. Now, granted, I mean, there isn't a ton of hammers here in Joey's list, so it's really going to come down to positioning and terrain and stuff like that. He has a decent amount of range, 18 inches, but like it just kind of puts him in range of all the charges. So you're right, Andy. It's kind of really, really up in the air. I am gonna give it to the Kingdoms of Men list just because I think he has the range on the salamanders, but I honestly, to me, it's anyone's game for this one. But I'll go with my teammate there and give 1 to Kingdoms of Men. Right. How about you, Jake?
I think this is going to probably be, at least of the matches we've seen, the one I'd most want to watch played. Both Tony and Joey are really fun people to play against, so I think this will be a really fun table to watch, and I think both of these are pretty close. That said, Joey has more killing power, and even though Tony does have a good amount of drops, I think Joey is bringing enough threats that those regiments are going to evaporate pretty fast, and once those bodies start to disappear, the rest of the Kingdoms of Men stuff is going to struggle. So I got to give it to Joey, but I think this is probably a pretty close match, and it could come down to as much as like who gets turn 1 to get in the right position. But like, I don't know, Rhinosaur Cav hordes suck to face, especially when backed up with Phoenixes. Phoenixes in general just are so good, and when they can score progressively like this, it's like
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Noah?
So Joey kicks my butt and UB over and over again anytime I want a good butt whooping, and gave me my first tabling in almost a year at a GT. So I'm a little biased in the sense that he kicked my butt, so he's going to kick everybody else's butt as well. But the other thing is just with the progressive scoring, as everybody's been saying, I think that scout getting these three heavy infantry units into hopefully a terrain by a token turn one is going to be, or before turn one even starts, is going to be huge. And as you all said, with all the healing, all the hammers, I think that if he makes any mistakes, the Kingdoms of Men is going to jump all over it with those um, 7 flyers. But if he doesn't get flank charges with these flyers when they first go in, anything that he charges in will get decimated by the salamanders. So he's going to have to wait for the right opportune moment and try and remove multiple units all at once with the flyers, or jump on 4 objectives early to score more points progressively, which will be a little bit tougher with the scout on it. But gonna stick with the teammate and the guy who keeps me humble, so I'm going with Joey.
All right. Nice split right down the middle there. Okay. So, Andy, this is actually your game right here. And of course, feel free to pick yourself and be completely biased. We do not have any objections here. You are going to be playing against Rufus Hambright, my Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay.
Rufus is the first person that I've ever played in Kings of War. When I moved to North Carolina, I put out like on the Facebook page, like I think I put it on Fanatics. I was like, "Hey, does anyone play this game? I'm moving and like get into this because Games Workshop's terrible."
I think I'm
And
the
yeah,
last one in the list. I don't know which one. No, I don't know. I know my name isn't on there, and I know I sent it to you with my name on it.
uh, I know one of them I had to make because the way the Rufus sent me. So one of them is on my name, yeah. So here's Rufus's list,
Ooh,
and
Rat King.
then
I was actually looking at that list myself. It's the second messenger creation one, by the way.
oh, thank you. This one?
No, that's the first
Nope.
one. The second one.
There we go.
I'm the degenerate bringing Twilight in.
That's okay. If I don't have to be the ringer, I will be putting together my Twilight Kid army again. I'm trying to find the grossest things so I can beat Bart at next year's Vanguard. All right. So actually, Andy, why don't you start us off on your list here?
Okay. I've got 4 regiments of Fleet Wardens with all the upgrades. So that's the Spearmen. 2 regiments of mutants, one with Brew of Haste, one with Mane of Madness. 2 Impaler Hordes, one with the Mace of Crushing. 1 Planar Apparition Mind Screech, the healer guy. 2 Void Captains, one with Blade of the Beast Slayer, both of them with the 7 attack upgrades. 3 Summoner Crones with Weakness 4, because you don't leave home without it. And a Void Skiff with Sacred Horn, the Navigator on Void Skiff with Sacred Horn.
All right. And I'll go through Rufus' list real quick. That way it's at least slightly different. But we have Spear Warriors. We have 3 hordes. Only 1 with Plague Plots. 2 hordes of Nightmares. A Vermintide Regiment. Tunnel Runners with Sir Jesse's Boots of Striding. 3 weapons teams. 2 Night Terrors. A Tangle. A Swarm Crier mounted with the Loot. And 2 Broodmothers, both with Drain Life and Light Staff. So, Andy, how do you think you're gonna do?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't actually play against Ratkin a whole lot. I do have a lot of games against goblins running like 3 trombones, so this kind of feels somewhat similar. Um, that being said, I'm always going to give myself the advantage.
I mean,
I
why
want,
not? You have to.
yeah, I want to grind with my list, and I think we're both doing the same thing with double rally, um, pretty much everywhere. I do have a lot of I hit harder than he does, I think, with my units. Being everything is elite and vicious, basically. So I hope the efficiency is gonna get me there. He is gonna have the drain life with the brood mothers onto the vermintide and stuff to heal the damage I do. But I also have the mind screech to do the same thing, basically. So I I don't know. It's gonna be a tough game.
All right. What do you think, Jake?
I think Twilight Kin all the way in this matchup. Those mutants are going to be so good. And even the Impalers being tide speed, I don't know. I think the Ratkin, they have some stuff that could give you some trouble. But I keep looking at those mutants and then looking at what the Ratkin are bringing and going, that's a lot of mutant problems, and that's not even starting to think about like the fleet wardens and the other things you're bringing. So I feel like you're going to churn through bodies quicker than the Ratkin can shoot and drain life the stuff back. So going with the Twilightkin.
Yeah, I mean, I was I was surprised not seeing any claw shots in the list. It's like the one thing that can outrange almost everybody. Um, I mean, Andy, just from us talking, I'm sure you're not going to just be running your mutants right into these spear warrior hordes, so I don't think that you're going to have too much to worry about there. All of Rufus is shooting is at really short range, and that is, I think, really to his detriment. It's definitely a different list than he runs. I play Rufus again. He's one of my teammates. This is not his normal Ratkin list, though he has been playing Ratkin for the past year. I'm going to give it to you because I really think that he's missing some key elements to the list that would help put him over the edge. So yeah, I'm going to give it to the Twilightkin. How about you, Noah?
So I agree. The Void Touch mutants are going to be the MVP of this game. With the Wild Charge D3 plus a Speed 8 plus 7, that's going to really keep the Wreckin at bay. And with this scenario, as long as you're able to get to a couple of these objectives with all of the units that the Twilight can have, it's going to be hard for the rats to spread out and keep the Twilight Kin off of there, especially with only one unit of regiment of tunnel runners and no other. Well, I guess the terrors are technically speed 9, but they don't have a huge nerve, and you're probably not going to be sending them out on objectives on their own. You're going to use them to rally your other units. So I think it'll be kind of a chess game of when the lines collide, are the Ratkin able to get around a shooting of that 12-inch bubble on key units before Twilightkin hits, and I think that's just gonna be a little tough to do, especially with the scenario of trying to spread out between at least 4 tokens to get those extra points. So I'm gonna give the edge to Andy on this one.
All right. Second queen, clean sweep. Good
Uh,
luck,
I like to
Rufus.
hear
Andy.
it.
All right. Let's see who we got here. Okay. Getting close to our last tables here, we have Bruce Monarch versus Christopher Williams. Let's see what we got. Okay. Our second undead list. This has three blah 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 English. Three. It's gonna take a second. I have to relearn this language. All right. We have Wraiths, 3 troops of them, and 2 regiments. 3 werewolf hordes, 1 with Brew of Strength, 1 with Helm of Drunken Ram, a white horde with Brew of Haste, Morgoth the Mandatory, and 2 Lycanuses, 1 with Trickster's Wand, 1 with Orb of Time and Presence, and the the Holings, halflingless. He is bringing a horde of Braves, 2 regiments of Poachers, 2 regiments of Edge Grenadiers, 1 with Relentless. 2 regiments of Juggers, both with Relentless. A regiment of Wild Runners with Black Powder weapons. Aeronauts with Blade of Slashing. 2 Harvesters. An Iron Beast. A muster captain on a miniature Airles. Sure-footed cap. I'm guessing that's a named unit.
Yeah,
Some
it
sort.
gives
So
a strider aura for cavalry.
Okay. Thank you. A sorcerer, Ally McSween, and a gunnery sergeant on a troll. Want to start us off, Jake?
This is a really cool undead list. I really like the heavy use of werewolves. Wraiths are some of the things that I really enjoyed using at the beginning of third. I have been struggling to get them into lists recently. Lycanus are cool to see hit the table. All that said, other than the whites, there's not a ton of great hitting power in the undead list. It's only crushing 1, except for the whites, and then the 1 werewolf unit with Brew of Strength. Helm of Drunken Ram's also there, which is unusual for undead. That's normally bringing a lot of striking power. Luckily, against halflings, I don't think it's going to matter, right? Like, most of that stuff's defense 4, 3, so you don't need the crushing 2 to really do well. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how good this halfling shooting and some of that plank damage is going to be, because werewolves wavering is 100% a thing that happens quite frequently. Maybe it's just observation bias since most of the rest of my army can't waver. But I feel like werewolves waver at the least opportune moments, and then they're just an expensive furry beast that gets killed. All that said, I think the undead have the tools to take this, particularly because the halflings just don't. The low crushing strength isn't going to hurt against the halflings, and then the speed from the werewolves and the Lycanus is really going to help in the progressive scoring. So I'm going with the undead.
All right, 1 for the undead. Let's see. I'll be honest. I know that when I think Bruce talked about his list, this is very similar to what he ran in Circle of Iron, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, before we even got lists and stuff like that, when we saw this, it was not something that we wanted to play against. I can tell you that. I don't have a lot of reference with halflings. I've only ever played them. I played against them once. I have a lot more experience versing undead. I have to say this list it's pretty annoying, to say the least. I really think that it has the potential to just make you stick and then have werewolves in your flanks and rears, which is where you don't want them. That being said, though, I really do think that the halfling list has a decent amount of counterpunch. We have 16 units, 26 drops, and 12 to 24. So I mean, he has the drops, he has the unit strength, he has the speed. I think if Christopher's smart, he can really pull this off well, choosing his engagements wisely. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the halfling list. I really do think that if he plays it well, it'll be really hard for the undead to pick apart like it wants to. So I'm gonna go with halflings. How about you, Noah?
I am going to go with the undead just with all the maneuverability. I think the halflings will probably be winning the game in the beginning of the game, just with the scout being able to jump right out in front will definitely pay dividends. But the issue is going to be in order to take multiple of those tokens, things are going to get exposed. There's no way that the halflings can stay back or protect everything. And so the undead will be able to pick and choose which tokens to hit, where they want to hit, and how they want to hit. And I think that's going to be the difference maker. Because once again, with the scenario, especially with the progressive, it's not about killing everything. It's just about getting on 4 tokens. Whoever can get on 4 tokens securely first. And I think the halflings have the better possibility of getting on 4 first, but don't have the tools to protect. And if the things on the front are removed, it's going to be tough for them to take it back. Whereas the undead have so much maneuverability, have so many different units, and it's going to be hard for the halflings to remove them. It's going to be a lot easier for undead to remove the halflings. So I'm definitely going undead.
All right. Another 4 undead. Got it. How about you, Andy?
Um, it's a tough one. I think even though he has a lot of shambling, I think Bruce actually has the speed advantage here, and I think he has the punch advantage. And I think he's going to be harder to kill with all the defense six, um, the wraiths there. So as much as I don't know people how many people know this or not, but I'm actually was trying to get to this event to take back my spot on the Southeast Masters team, as Brooke knocked me out of the team at Circle of Iron. I need 1 point for this. Our cutoff is May 31st for points. So as much as I don't want him to win here, I think Bruce actually has the advantage here. Um, Halflings are really good right now, and I really like this halfling list. But the speed 9 from the werewolves is, I think, where they're gonna get hurt from. The strong part of this halfling list is it's got a lot of speed 8 cavalry. It's got some defense 6 on the harvester's big shield, the iron beast. Yeah, they're gonna be kind of hard to chew through for the undead, but I don't think it's gonna be enough punch from the halflings to actually kill the undead units.
All
And
right. Other one for the undead. All right, so this is the last matchup for the day. And again, this is solely going to be if I have to play. This is a person that registered, and then myself as the ringer. Again, if it works out that way, great. If not, then that's also fine. But it's going to be Bill Richardson and myself. I promise, as a ringer, I take my job very, very seriously, to provide all of the laughs. Let's see here. Here we go. All right. Let's see. God, who started us off last time? Jake. Oh, so it's up to me. So I'll introduce myself. So I'll start off with the ogre list. I wanted to take something again as a ringer. I try to make it at least challenging, but also like I hope that I get paired after this with players that will enjoy playing it and have just a fun game. So I took a horde of shooters with Blessing of the Gods, 3 warrior hordes, one with Chalice of Wrath, one with Dwarven Ale, the Boomer Chariots with Stealthy, Sacred Horn, a Big Deal Mammoth, 2 giants with Giant Cleavers, Barakagamok, and Namagarok, the 2 named ogre characters. And Bill is taking Earl's Pearls, an Ice Naiad horde with Tundra Fighters, Spears, Hammer of Measured Force, 3 Pack Hunter regiments, 2 Ice Elemental, I'm sorry, an Ice Elemental regiment and an Ice Elemental horde with the Aegis of Elohai, Tundra Wolves, troop, a Frost Claw Rider regiment, a Frost Claw Rider horde. One has the Mace of Crushing, the other one has Boots of Striding, an Ice Queen hero with Conjure Staff, heal 5, Hex 2, the named Gyrant, Harim, the legendary Ice Giant, and a Lord on Chimera with Pipes of Terror. I'm going to run and get a charger real quick for this laptop before it dies, but I am already going to give it to my opponent. I think that Bill's going to have a great game. I hilariously think that the Giants are not what he wants to see. That'll provide some interesting ability to crack some of his bigger units and stuff like that. But I will.
and I think he died. Um, let me pull the list back up myself.
I can, as you're doing that, just sort of chat with my thoughts too. I think the Northern Alliance list is really cool because of the ensnare and and speed and like variety of threats it's bringing. Ogres are a strong list as we've talked about, but I think Matt purposely didn't take like the tons of siege breakers and whatnot. So even though it's a balanced ogre list, it's not an over the top one. Double Giant is really fun. And then Hrim being on the other side, I think gives some really interesting sort of counterplay. But I'm going to say Northern Alliance in part because he's not the ringer, and I'm not voting for the ringer to be the winner on a match. But also, I do legitimately think if you ask me which of those two lists I want to take that Northern Alliance list. I think it's bringing a little bit more interesting stuff.
Well, you know,
I think it's gonna be really funny because Matt did take the two giants, and they both have Slayer, so it's gonna be a monster mash, so to speak, between the two lists with the Lord on Chimera, Prim, and then Ice Elemental that almost put in there as the big chunky things. And then Matt also has the Mammoth in there as well. So it's definitely gonna be kind of a clash of titans, so to speak. But I do think that Bill has a couple more tools to outmaneuver and a couple more just tar pits for the ogres to deal with. I think the Ice Naiads with the Hammer of Measured Force could be the MVP in this one, just being able to either take a flank or hold up a unit so that way something can hit a flank. Because that Hammer of Measured Force is definitely going to catch some people off guard, I think. Especially with the ensnare in the front.
yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give it to the Northern Alliance here as well. So, and ironically, I think the Ice Naiads are gonna be the most effective unit for them in this game. So, if I recall, don't they have? They do have ensnare.
Mm-hmm.
So, ensnare is gonna be really good against like the monster mash that um, Matt is gonna be bringing as the ringer. So
They have
that's
regen too, which makes them just so tanky.
yeah, 100%. So 30 attacks, hitting on fours. I mean, they're gonna do what like 7 or 8 wounds against anything they're hitting. That's if Tundra Fighters isn't triggered. Otherwise, it's I think an average of 10, which is phenomenal against pretty much all of Matt's list.
Yeah,
Um,
ogres don't want to face that.
no, 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 they don't. Um, Plus, he doesn't have the stealth bubble from the ogres, so I think the pack hunters and the ice elementals are, and what else was this? The Frostclaw riders are gonna do a decent job of shooting down those warrior hordes. So I think that's yeah. I'm gonna have to give it to Mr. Richardson here. So is there anything else? I know Matt's not here anymore, so
Yeah, I was going to say, often with the matchup cast, people pick like who they're sort of betting to win the whole thing. Maybe they're like unexpected person to do well, and then like the club maybe to take the cup. And I'm going to say this is the Mid Atlantic Irregulars event where if we're going to take that cup, so
Wait, is a cup in this event?
it's a Mid Atlantic event.
Didn't know that.
And we have enough people. We've got 3 people going, so
I'm the only one from my group coming. So yeah,
um,
none all the other brawlers are going to like Massachusetts or something for an event up there.
they're going to Orktown, which is where Noah and I are going, and why we're not going to the Carolina Reaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be up there drinking with my buddies. I'll
Yep.
be down here drinking with your buddies.
I'm in the process of planning a grudge match for Devlin, because I grudge Devlin every chance I can because I love Devlin. So
Well, well, Devlin spanked the crap out of me and on Sunday with his halflings. So
he
um,
beats me every time I grudge him. Alex Chavez told him he could start telling me no because after the third loss, he's like, "You've earned the right. You proved that you beat him." But it's been a couple of years, so I'm going to grudge him.
Sorry about that,
Um,
guys.
You're
you're
good.
good.
Apologize.
So I guess my take for people to take the whole thing, I'm gonna rep my boy Joey Greek. I know he's been sort of having like some streaky events the last couple of events, but I think that's because he pivoted from his tried and true Night Stalkers to trying to get the Salamanders to work. And I think he's been really practicing and shifting and evolving them where they need to be. And I think his current list is pretty nasty. So he's my pick to take the whole thing. And I think like Joey tends to like save up that fury at going 3-2 at events for a while, and then just like I don't know, you get him the wrong event, and he just goes 5-0, and it's like cool, Joey, thanks for that, good game. So he's my pick for like to take the whole thing, and I think Dark Horse. Um, Dark Horse is a little bit tougher because I don't know some of the guys from your area as much. But I think Tony, I really like Tony's list, and I don't know how much he's actually playing, but I know he was at Vanguard, so this is like two events pretty close, and I'm sure he took a similar list of Vanguard. So I think Tony's a dark horse for me, particularly because his soft scores are always really good. So I don't know. Tony's my boy. Happy to see him playing again.
Nice to see you again, Matt.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I apologize. I'm still having some issues. I'll give you my synopsis, and then I have to log off. For some reason, my computer's being as dumb as I am right now. Um, yeah, honestly, again, like going through the list, Joey's was the one where I was just like, I did not want that at all. Did not want to face that. So yeah, I'm gonna go Joey as well. Honestly, like that was the one I was not looking forward to. Uh, Dark Horse though, I'm gonna give it to Drew. I really, again, it's an odd, it's another Kingdoms of Men list, but like that amount of unit strength and just the pilot, I think is really well. So yeah, I will leave it into your capable hands, gentlemen. But yeah, let me try and figure out what's going on with my stuff. And again, thank you everyone for coming out. I will see you all Friday. If you're going to be there the night of, if not, I will see you Saturday morning. Um, and just a quick heads up, I will post it on the Facebook group as well. I'm going to be organizing a little bit of a like pub crawl, bar crawl thing going on. So I'll get all that listed up. So there'll be a few bars within walking distance of the event for the most part that we can all kind of walk to. First will be where we eat, and then the rest will be drinking and having fun. But again, thank everyone for coming out. I really do appreciate your time. So I hope you all have a good night.
All right, man. You
Yeah,
have a good
see
one.
ya.
So, so it's 2 votes for Joey. What about you, Noah?
I gotta stick with my club mate. Joey's been messing with this list for a year now, tinkering with it, and he was even playtesting it a bit in the fall before the changes hit, so that way he'd be ready for it to go. And I think he's finally at the point where he's critiquing his few little tweaks to perfect it. And I think the progressive scoring will help with the Phoenixes. And then some of the tough things. It's going to be hard for people to jump on tokens and jump on objectives while not getting hit by that stuff. I think the dark horse, I really like Bruce's undead list. I mean, I think 2, 4, 5 defense 6 drops with speed 7, and then 3 hordes of werewolves is going to be tough for people um, to manage with this progressive scoring. And Morgoth being able to cast these spells and fly around, and the Whites and Lycaness, it's going to be really tough for people to handle that speed because it doesn't matter if he gets tabled. Like with his units, if he doesn't have any anchors, it's not a big deal because he could theoretically score 15 points or so in the first 3 or 4 rounds and win before the game's even over. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how the progressive scoring helps his list with the maneuverability, where staying to the end might not be the biggest factor.
Okay, so that's 3 votes for Joey. So congrats on your 2-3, Joey. Um, everybody's saying he's cursed now in chat because all three of you voted for him. Um, I actually, let me see here. I think Drew may actually do quite well. I do like his Kingdoms of Men list a lot. As again as not voting for myself. I have to come in the top three here, I think, with 19 players or 20 players to get the points that I need to get back into Masters. So if I come in second and Drew wins, I'm happy with that. All right. I am gonna name myself as the dark horse though. So I've got to because I'm the only Twilight Kin player.
I
That's
like it.
that's thematic.
Yeah, that checks out.
So, um, and I think that's gonna pretty much wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for coming in. Um, I I enjoyed doing this. I'm gonna try and get this video posted up on YouTube sometime in the near future. It is a 2 hour long video, so it's gonna take a bit. Um, and you guys said you're going to Orktown, the two of you.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So unfortunately, I won't see you there at the event, but
Unfortunately, yeah.
I've got my 11-hour drive Friday to where you
Good
guys are
luck with
at.
that. Yeah,
Thanks.
we're looking at it for next year though, so
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be done
Yeah, I've
next
already
year.
put it on my calendar. It's a done deal for next year as long as the date doesn't change. I have a bad luck of GT shifting by 1 week and screwing me, but Matt's pretty confident it's gonna be on the same weekend. So cross my fingers.
If you guys are looking for it, the end of June there is a GT in Memphis run by Rob Fanuff. So
Hmm.
it's Kings of Memphis. That's gonna be pretty fun.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I used to fly down for Blue City Brawl. I went to that a couple of times, and it was always a good time. So Rob runs a really good event.
Yeah, I'll have
Yeah,
to
he
look at
does.
that. I got a couple trips lined up, but that might work if it's the end of June.
Yep, it is the end of June. So that's gonna be
Cool.
fun. Yeah, Larry says it's a great event. He goes every year. My first one was last year, so but it's good. All right, everybody, thank you all for coming out. And
Awesome.
nice. Joey and
Cool.
Steve are doing BCB next year. I like it.
What
You
time
get,
of year is
Nice.
BCB?
it's probably gonna be in the spring.
Gotcha.
It was in March this past one. Um, Joey's gonna take the title from me, so I took it in spring. So all right,
Congrats.
Nice.
thanks guys.
All right. See you,
All right.
man.
See you guys.